And of course, we can also apply this on smaller scale, like for instance here on the shoulder, we can apply it. I am going to just close the background layer, lock it for now, and then have this shape selected. And if you recall, this is a clipping mask. So if I have the clipping mask selected, I can switch back to draw inside, or just simply place an object inside it in the layers panel. I just want to have another circle created here with the orange color. And what I'm going to do is to go into make mask for this, like before, turn off the clip option and just paste the same shape in here, so the same circle. But this time, instead of using the gradient on the fill color, I will actually remove the fill color and apply the gradient on the stroke. So having the stroke attribute selected, I'm going to choose linear gradient and then use this third option when the gradient is applied from the center to the outside of the shape. So we can create it like this, and I will increase the size of this stroke effect, maybe go up to 100 points. And then temporarily the preview might not show correctly because we have a clipping mask and inside it we have an object with an opacity mask. So sometimes Illustrator is struggling to show things properly, but don't worry, once you apply the grain on this, so we go up to the effect menu and choose apply grain, it should look already better. But one thing that you might need to do is to reverse the colors of your gradient, which you can do from the gradient panel with this icon. So if I click on that, I can check which one is the one I wanted to create. I actually feel like this is the one that works better. But if I use these gradient stops here, I can see how I can control this. So I can make the transition a bit smoother like that. And we can actually increase the stroke size a bit, just so we have a larger transition. And maybe we can adjust these stops as well. Yeah, I think that looks quite good. And now it's completely up to you whether you want to vectorize this or not, but I normally prefer to do that. So I'm going to select the opacity mask, make sure this shape is highlighted. I go through the same steps, expand appearance, image trace, and then settings. Once again, I forgot to save it as a template. I will make sure I do it this time. So I will set the paths higher, corners lower, and then the noise this time, because it's a smaller shape, I will try to do 2 pixels. Maybe we can even go down to 1 pixel. That just makes it more detailed. That looks good. And by the way, the complexity can also be controlled with the anchors. If you drag them all the way down, you will see that the anchors go down to 21,000. If I drag it all the way up to 100, it goes up to 30,000. In this case, I feel like that amount of detail will work quite nicely. And then I expand this. And then of course, we don't need all of these extra detail. So I can use the eraser tool, hold down Alt or Option key and delete all of this unnecessary details. And then we can also delete from here on the top. And then now we can just move this around. This actually can come up a bit higher. If we hide the edges, we can see exactly what we are doing. So we can align this closer to what we wanted to create here. Maybe it would be wise to also go back to the shape itself and just drag that up a little bit. And if I just want to avoid creating the texture on the shading, what we can do is to drag this shape under the shading layer like that. So this way it's set up the way I wanted it. We can go back to the effect and just move it around a bit. And I feel like that looks quite nice. Okay, so again, it's just a more subtle transition between the two sides. But the good thing about this is that it's completely vector based. And just to bring the details of the hair a little bit together, I'm going to do something quite similar here. I will click outside of the opacity mask and I'm just going to draw a shape with the pen tool. Let's just draw it around here. Like that. And then follow it up that way. fill it in with this dark color, not for the stroke, but the fill. And then copy this shape, go into Make Mask, turn off clipping, and paste the same shape, that main shape that we created. And then let's use the black and white gradient on it, not on the stroke, but on the fill. And in this case, maybe we can even use the radial gradient, so the second one, and we can just set it up with the reverse option in the direction that we need. So we can extend this on both sides, like that, this point, and that point. I can just do it from here on the panel, makes it a little bit easier. So this is the perimeter of the effect. We can drag this out a bit more, and then we can just drag the whole thing in the middle, like that. We can also squeeze this into more of an ellipse, and we can even rotate it around. And then when we are happy with the effect, we can go up to the effect menu and choose Apply Grain. And the cool thing about this technique is that before you do the vectorization, you can actually control the grain much better. So you still have your gradient annotator. So you can really see what you're doing when you're adjusting that. You can go back and forth. You can adjust these points as well. And I essentially just wanted a little bit of detail that connects the hair together. So I don't want this to be too dense. Something like this works well. And then now I can go into Object, Expand Appearance, then Image Trace. And I still haven't saved this preset. I always forget. So I'm just going to go through the settings again. Ignore color, simplify, and noise. Again, we can do 3 points on this, 3 pixels. And maybe even go down to 1 in this case. Yeah, that's much more detailed. And just so we can see how to save the preset, all you have to do is to click here and choose Save New Preset. And I'm going to call this Noise Effect. So now it's saved and it's looking good. The only thing I would like to do is, once I expanded it, is to drag it a bit out. So the edges are not showing. They were showing a bit before. Now the edges are gone. And yeah, it looks good. Maybe here, can drag that down a bit as well. Okay, let's close the image trace option. And then maybe we can just select the object itself and adjust the outline a bit on this by dragging these points here. I can just show the texture where it makes more sense.